There's so much going on that it revolves around the Constitution, especially Article 3, to be honest with you, which is the judicial branch. To that point, the Article 3 project founder and a good friend of ours, Mike Davis, is with us. Mike, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me back on, Joe.
You're very welcome. So, Article 1 was the legislature, Article 2, the presidency, the executive, Article 3, the judicial. Are they in that order for a reason? Is the legislative branch the most important one, then the executive the next, and then the judicial is the third? Are they truly co-equal, or was there a mindset for the founders when they made them, do you think?
You're exactly right, Joe, about the Congress has the most power, the legislative power. That's why it's the first, but that's why that power is divided among 535 people. The executive branch has one person because they want that executive energy to carry out the laws. And Article 3 is the federal judiciary, the Supreme Court and lower federal courts. And that's the supposed to be the least dangerous branch. It has a modest but crucial role. It is to decide cases and controversies of the parties properly before the courts with redressable claims. Nothing more, nothing less. Their job is to wear judicial robes. Their job is not to wear capes. They're not narcissistic superheroes who fly
Right.
around looking for people to save.
You know, one of the biggest questions that happens right now, and by the way, go to article3project.org and support Mike and his great folks over at the Article 3 Project. One of the biggest questions right now is, does a district judge, does a Boasberg, does a Zinnis, do these people have the ability to do a nationwide injunction to stop the executive from using his Article 2 powers? I would say no. I think you would say no, but they're allowing it to happen.
Yeah, and it's gotten out of control in the last 2 months under the Trump administration. Look, the Article 3 judicial power applies to cases or controversies of the parties. This idea that you can use a court proceeding to essentially set national policy, to enact national legislation in effect by a single judge is completely unconstitutional. If you want to have a court ruling apply to multiple parties, you have multiple parties on the lawsuit, whether it's named parties on the lawsuit, whether you do a class action. But this idea that you have nationwide injunctions against the executive branch is in clear violation of Article 3 of the Constitution and
Mike
Article
Davis.
2.
No, absolutely. It's Mike Davis, article3project.org. Go and follow Mike, MRDDMIA, over on social media. What jumped out at me with this guy, Boasberg, is, first of all, he's a Clintonista. He's a guy who has always been against Trump, against Republicans, always been for people like Obama and so on. I think that he was first given the job by George W. Bush, but he was elevated by Barack Obama, and he's acted that way since he was. Mike, he literally wanted them to turn planes around, planes that didn't have enough fuel to turn around, and bring back terrorists and gang members to the United States. Does he have that power?
No, he doesn't. First of all, you could say, yeah, he was technically a George W. Bush pick in D.C., but the way the D.C. local court works is the president has to pick from like three people. The local Democrat bar recommends to the president. He was probably the least bad of the
Okay,
three.
gotcha.
So that's point number one. Boasberg is a radical judicial activist. He was appointed to the federal bench by President Obama, and this idea that he can open up his courtroom at any time and expose an ongoing military operation by the president, a secret operation to get the most dangerous foreign terrorists in the Western Hemisphere out of our country. That alone is an egregious abuse of power by this judge. And then this idea that this judge can order planes to turn around is just, it's unthinkable that he would do this. That puts the lives of Americans and our allies in grave danger. Think about this. We saw the security footprints in El Salvador when
Yes.
these planes landed, where they had hundreds of military, intel, and law enforcement officials. We didn't have that same footprint in America if we turned around those planes. Boasberg did not know the fuel levels on these planes when they were over the Gulf of America. Fortunately, the Supreme Court said that he did not have the power, the jurisdiction to do what he did, but you have these activist judges trying to sabotage the president of the United States. And I blame this squarely on Chief Justice John Roberts because he has failed to rein in these activist judges. He has failed to get his judicial house in order. So Congress now has the responsibility, the duty to do this.
Does he have the power in and of it, the position itself, the Chief Justice, to say stop it? to Zinnis and Boasberg and anybody else?
He can do. He's the circuit justice for several circuits, including the D.C. circuit. He could certainly do it for the D.C. district courts, and regardless, he could get his colleagues to join him to say that these activist judges are acting unconstitutionally, recklessly, dangerously by issuing these so-called temporary restraining orders that are sabotaging the president of the United States when he's exercising his core Article 2 power, including as the commander in chief.
Well, you know, the Boasberg is still pushing that he wants to get all the information he can from the DOJ and the administration. Did you defy my verbal order? And it's like he's not going to stop. He's like Mershon on steroids. So if in fact he keeps on going down this road, can Trump and the administration, the DOJ, just ignore him? What do they do?
Look, I have never called for anyone to ignore a judge's order before. I have never called for a judge's impeachment until Boasberg opened up his courtroom, exposed an ongoing national security operation, a military operation to deport the most dangerous terrorist, to turn around the planes. This is not judicial review by Jeb Boasberg. This is judicial sabotage. It's not just lawless that it's not just the fact that it was so lawless is why I'm calling for his impeachment and for the president to ignore the order. It was not only lawless, it was extremely dangerous what he did. What if those planes crashed because they ran out of fuel? What if those planes landed back in America and those terrorist escapes because we did not have the security footprint? God forbid, what if they were hijacked on this plane because they felt emboldened? This is inexcusable what Boasberg did, and the House needs to move forward with impeachment proceedings. We're calling for that on our website at article3project.org to light up both of your home state senators and your U.S. House rep. Even if they don't have the votes to impeach and remove this guy, let's make the process the punishment so these judges think twice about doing this. If Boasberg is sitting through impeachment proceedings, he's not sabotaging the commander-in-chief during military operations.
Exactly right. It's Mike Davis, MRDDMIA, over on social media. Go follow him. He's a great follow. Article3project.org. Go and support what they do. One last question on that. Yeah, I'm with you on impeachment. I get it. They're not going to get him convicted, but at least you make him do it. But doesn't, I mean, I think it was you that told me this, Mike. The only court that's mentioned in Article 3 is the Supreme Court. So every other court was created by Congress. Can't Congress get rid of his district?
Absolutely. Congress, the judicial power belongs to the Supreme Court, and then any other lower courts that Congress creates. Congress can create these courts. Congress can eliminate these courts. What I think needs to happen is the D.C. District Court has too much power, and they abuse this power. It's stacked with Obama and Biden radicals, and then a bunch of Republican wimps, right? And they have way too much power. So what I would do, there's the D.C. federal courts, and then there's the D.C. local court that handles street crimes, essentially, and civil disputes in D.C. What I would do is get rid of the D.C. Superior Courts because, as we talked about with Boasberg, the president only gets to pick one of three people, so therefore it's unconstitutional under the Appointments Clause, and there are a lot of vacancies on that court right now. So get rid of the D.C. Superior Court, make the D.C. District Courts take on the D.C. Superior Court's local jurisdiction on street crimes and contract disputes in D.C., and then randomly draw judges from around the country to handle all other matters. And they can do it by lottery. They can come sit by designation in D.C. So it's not the same Obama and Biden radicals and Republican wimps deciding these cases that have such national importance.
And I wish they would do that. You got the House, you've got the Senate, and I want a backbone to be shown by these people. But otherwise, in the midterms, they're not going to even hold on to the House and the Senate. It is Mike Davis from the Article 3 Project. Let's talk about due process. Everybody but everybody online now is a lawyer. Everybody but everybody knows the most about due process. They probably never even used the term before this whole thing happened. But as I read the 14th Amendment, it appears to be talking about American citizens almost entirely, and then, damn it, they use the word person or persons, and that's what the left is latching on to. Every person has due process for life, liberty, happiness, the whole thing. But at the end of the day, if I look at it in context, it appears as though the 14th Amendment is talking about citizens. So long question, long statement short. Do people who break the law to come here have some right to go through 7 years of so-called due process before they can be removed?
Here's the bottom line. Illegal aliens do not have constitutional due process. The only due process that illegal aliens have is the due process provided by Congress in the form of statute. So, for example, if you look at the Alien Enemies Act, there's not constitutional due process for illegal aliens. And if you look at the Alien Enemies Act, there's not statutory due process. So, if the president says that you are an illegal alien, if you're an alien enemy tied to a foreign country like Venezuela, sent here to sabotage our country, the president has the absolute constitutional responsibility, the duty to get these people the hell out of our country, along as commander in chief, along with the statutory duty under the Alien Enemies Act. Just think about how these judges are ruling today. Let's just pretend that we captured the 9/11 terrorists
Right.
before 9/11 2001, and the president tried to get them out of our country. And you have these activist judges saying, no, 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 no. These 9/11 terrorists have the due process right to stay in our country and roam our streets. Everyone would say that that's absolutely crazy. So why the hell are these judges letting Tren de Aragua, designated foreign terrorists, and MS-13 gangbangers have due process? Where the hell was the due process for Americans who these Biden officials persecuted after January 6th for 4 years? They didn't care about due process then, but suddenly they care about due process for Tren de Aragua foreign terrorist and MS-13 gang members.
Right.
These people clutching their pearls about due process for these guys can go to hell.
And by the way, I'm with you. They should. Abrego Garcia, by the way, got due process. He applied for asylum. He was denied. He got a final order of deportation. That's all the due process he gets. Can you explain to me and my audience, please, Mike, what this damn withholding removal order was in 2019? It appears to only have been because of El Salvador and a rival gang, although he's not in a gang, would have done something bad to him. Why was that order ever approved and accepted by the Trump administration? And does it still apply today?
Well, I don't know. It was by immigration judges at the Justice Department. And so here's the deal with Obrega Garcia. You know, that I hear, look, I understand that there's a vacancy with the Pope. Maybe the Democrats and some of these DC Republicans want to make this guy the Pope because they're
Right.
certainly canonizing this guy. Maybe he can just skip being the Pope and just make him a saint, right? Skip the smoke and just make him a saint.
Right.
This guy was an illegal immigrant who overstayed. He got caught. He had a deportation order. He apparently beat his wife. He apparently was a human trafficker. He was not just some Maryland father. He had MS-13. He has MS-13 tattoos on his fingers. This guy is a monster. And the idea that Chris Van Hollen, the Maryland senator, is going to go down and have margaritas with this guy in El Salvador is unbelievable. And the
Yeah.
fact that these federal judges get duped, but this guy shows just how completely dumb, naive, out of touch these judges are with the real world, how easily they are duped.
The whole due process thing just kills me because, again, this guy got more process than I think you and I would have gotten. I mean, in court over and over, adjudicated by two judges as, yes, he's an MS-13 according to an informant that they believed. Also, the local sheriff in Maryland said, yes, he's MS-13. Our investigation shows, yes, it looked as though apparently he was human trafficking from Texas back to Maryland. And Van Hollen goes down there, and they're almost playing like, some sort of a love song together. At the end of the day, are they failing as badly as I think they are, Mike? And if they are, I want them to keep on going. I want Frost to go down there. I want Jasmine Crockett to go down there. I want AOC to go down there because it's just that dumb, right?
Yeah, these are 90-10 issues for the American people. So if you see these Democrat officials going down to Saint Abrego Garcia or Pope Abrego Garcia to have margaritas with this guy, please keep doing it. I keep saying to Michael Watley, the RNC chairman, please pay for them, put them on private jets, pay for their margaritas. Make sure you send a camera crew. It's unbelievable to me how out of touch these Democrats are. That like President Trump just won an election in big part on lawfare, and on a bigger part on the fact that he's going to secure the border and get these terrorists out of our country.
Mike Davis, founder of the Article 3 Project. Go to article3project.org. What are you guys doing to break up Google and their big tech stranglehold they have?
Well, I'd look when Rachel Bovard and I started the big tech fight on the right against Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple just over 5 years ago, they laughed at us. They laughed at Rachel and me, and it was a David versus Goliath fight. They said we had no chance of winning. We called for antitrust amnesty to end for Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. Um, well, we changed the politics. We ended the antitrust amnesty at the end of the Trump administration. To Biden's credit, his antitrust law enforcers, Lena Khan and Jonathan Cantor, continued the bipartisan effort. And now Gail Slater and Andrew Ferguson, Trump's antitrust law enforcers, are finishing the job. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta sitting through an FTC trial by my good friend Andrew Ferguson. I may have had a hand in that, making sure that President Trump stayed the course. I may have met with the president in the Oval Office and gave him a friendly reminder of Mark Zuckerberg donating $400 million to Democrats to chase Trump out of office in 2020, subjecting President Trump to 4 years of unrelenting Republican lawfare. And Mark Zuckerberg thought $1 million for the inaugural after Trump won in 2024 was going to make up for that. I may have had a hand in a lot of these things. Now, Google found that its online search is a monopoly, and its online advertising is a monopoly. And now we're in the remedies phase for both of these. And the Gail Slater at the Trump Justice Department is calling for the divestiture, the breakup of Chrome and Google. You're going to see potentially the breakup of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp in the Meta trial at the FTC. You're going to see the online advertising monopoly broken up for Google, the lifeblood for all of this. So I would say to these big tech shows, you're not laughing at Rachel Bovard and me anymore. You're actually in pretty bad shape. You're probably crying.
Not David versus Goliath. It's Davis versus Goliath, clearly. Mike, well, he's a libertarian now, Mike. I can't believe you don't believe Zuckerberg. Last question for Mike Davis. Go to article3project.org. Just very quickly, if you don't mind. Big Tish, who we've talked about a lot. Is she dead to rights? Did she do this, do you think?
Let's see. Big Tish James said that Trump got short, what was it, a $500 million civil fraud fine against Trump in New York for the non-fraud of paying back sophisticated Wall Street banks on time as agreed in full with interest. Because Big Tish said Mar-a-Lago was only worth $18 million.
Right.
When a tennis court at Mar-a-Lago is worth more than $18 million. Mar-a-Lago is probably worth over $1 billion. It's 20 acres in the most prime real estate in Palm Beach, the most prime real estate market in the world. Trump has the only property that touches the Atlantic Ocean and the intracoastal waterway. I've been to Mar-a-Lago several times. It's beautiful. So now Big Tish said nobody was above the law. She was going to get Big Trump. Well, Big Tish, who's the New York Attorney General, by statute, she's required to live in New York. And she put on a Virginia home loan application that Virginia was her primary residence. Well, that looks like clear-cut mortgage fraud. And I bet you anything, knowing what I know about those good people in the Trump Justice Department, like Pam and Chad and Todd and Emil and the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, if I had to, and Cash and Dan Bongino, if I had to bet, I would bet anything that Big Tish is going to be indicted. And as I said right after the election, her fat ass might go to prison.
And it's starting to look like Kathy Hochul is pushing her under the bus too, doesn't it? I mean, I don't think Hochul wants any part of that.
Yeah, look, Democrats only care about power. I'm part of the Republican wing that wants us to get in that same camp, and I love it because when Big Tish goes down, there is going to be a feeding frenzy like they did to Cuomo. They will eat their own. That the only time Democrats like other Democrats is when those Democrats can deliver power. And when Big Tish's fat ass is in prison, she can't deliver power. So good luck, Big Tish, sweetheart. You might actually be going to prison.
Mike, you're amazing. MRDDMIA over on X, over on Truth as well. It's Mike Davis. Go to article3project.org and support what they do. They're fighting for you and me and for the Constitution. Mike, thanks a million for making time today.
Thank you. And where are your MS-13 tattoos, Joe? We need to get those.
I don't have them. I'm sorry. I had them removed. I don't want you to see them. Then you'd be canonizing me. Mike, you're the best. We'll talk very soon, brother. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. We're back after this. Stay right here.